Okay, so this is the greatest wrestlers of all time bracket. You got The Rock and Big Show starting us off. I'm going The Rock. Oh, interesting that this is a matchup. Isn't this random brackets? Triple H or Booker T? You don't? You think I remember what you said. I didn't forget. Mick Foley versus Shay. Oh, this is actually good. So I guess it's got. Okay, wait, hold on. So are we counting Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, Mankind, and Dude Love as different people? Or are we just going Mick Foley as a collective, all his characters? Because if that's the case, I guess we gotta go Mick Foley. But McMahon low-key goated. As a McMahon, his involvement in the company, he's done some crazy stunts. And he's had some good matches. Him versus AJ Styles is way better than it had any business being, but I guess we're gonna go Mick Foley for this. Okay, RVD versus Terry Funk. I gotta go RVD, personally. Stone Cold, that's easy. Razor Ramon versus Kevin Nash. I'll go Razor. Ooh. Okay, I think these are okay. I thought usually these are random generated, but this looks like very purposeful matchups here. To be honest, if I'm going objective, because I did like Kane more. Kane was my favorite out of these two. He was like my favorite big wrestler for the most part. Better choke slam in my opinion. Better entrance music. Slow Chemical. But I guess I gotta pick Undertaker for career-wise. Okay, DDP versus Sting. I'm going Sting. Hulk versus Sheik. You gotta go Hulk if you're being objective. Andre the Giant versus Vader. I guess Andre. They stay not stopping talking about Andre. That made no sense, but you know what I'm trying to say. Company talks about Andre more than Vader. Freaking. Why am I Macho Man versus Dragon? Why am I forgetting? This is before my time, but I know who these people are. And these guys had a great match, like way back in their day. I saw the match, and for its time, it was actually impressive in my opinion. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Okay, I'm embarrassed. That being said, similar situation. People talk about Macho Man more than Ricky Steamboat. Okay, Piper versus $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. I guess by same logic, Piper. This is Ric Flair versus Arn Anderson. They're really testing my knowledge here because a lot of this is before my time. Go Ric Flair. Jake the Snake versus Farouk. He's not Farouk in this picture, right? Is this Ron Simmons? He was Farouk for APA, right? Or am I remembering wrong? I don't know. Yeah, I guess you gotta go Jake the Snake here. Shawn Michaels versus the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Shawn Michaels. Shouts to Dusty though. Brett versus Bulldog. We'll go Brett. Rock versus Triple H. Get the fuck out of here. Mankind versus RVD. This is actually an argument, in my opinion. I think Mankind had more of an impact on history. RVD is definitely I prefer more than Mankind. But Mankind was involved in more important shit. So I'm gonna go Mankind here because I'm being objective. Stone Cold versus Razor. Stone Cold. This is a match we were robbed of. This should have happened like when it was able to happen. But much like today, there's a lot of good matchups that are just right in front of us that they're just not giving. I don't know what they're waiting for, but they're just gonna let some of those pass us by too, it seems. I guess you still gotta go Undertaker considering WCW died, which by proxy kind of makes Undertaker a little bit more important because he was a part of more important history. God, Sting is a legend though. Here's how I know, because I didn't watch WCW, and even as a kid, in a more casual form, as far as being a fan and sort of just getting into it, even I knew about, there were certain wrestlers back then that you knew of, or that all the kids knew about, without being all the way into wrestling. Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Hulk Hogan. Sting was one of them. I knew about Sting, and I didn't even watch WCW. I'm pretty sure Undertaker is probably one of them. People were doing suck it chops before I even knew where it came from. I don't know if the kids knew. Either someone in their family was showing them suck it chops, and that's how they learned, but the influence was there. I don't know if we have that nowadays, unless new kids are just doing this for no reason or some shit. Anyways, Undertaker. Hulk Hogan. Okay, I already see where this is gonna go, but we'll get to it when we get to it. Macho Man versus Roddy Piper. I think Macho Man. When I think of Piper, I feel like whenever anybody talks about Piper, they never bring up any matches, nothing. It's just like promos or something. With Macho Man, it's promos too, but like it's everything. Like his character, you get his rivalry with Steamboat and stuff like that. And he does. Do you have a Slim Jim commercial? I don't think so. Macho Man. Flair versus Snake. Flair. Michaels. Oh shit. I mean, it's got to be Michaels. But if Brett's career wasn't stopped short, this could be crazy. But I'm gonna go Michaels. Rock, Mankind, Rock. Stone Cold, Undertaker, Stone Cold. Hulk, Macho, Hulk. I got a question about this. I don't think I brought this up before. When it comes to Hulk Hogan, a lot of people like to credit Hulk Hogan for being where we are today. And it's like, yeah, cool. But do you think that none of this would have been possible without Hulk Hogan? Like, whose idea was the Hulk Hogan character? Was it Hulk himself? Or was that like Vince McMahon or something? I'm not trying to discredit Hogan, but to act like wrestling doesn't exist today without Hulk Hogan, I actually want to see what that timeline looks like though. Because it's not like, especially the way how people complain nowadays, it's not like wrestling kept getting better and better and better and better. So we might be in the golden era right now if we took a different path. Anyways, Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels. I would still go Shawn Michaels here. Yeah, I'm gonna go Michaels. Ooh, okay, I was waiting for this one. Okay, this is actually the first one that I actually struggle with. Because for me, again, Rock was not my favorite wrestler. It was Jeff Hardy. But these two were so mega huge. And out of these two, I love both of these guys. Greatest rivalry of all time. I still stick by that. But for me, it's still The Rock. But I guess objectively speaking, it's gotta be Austin. But again, like I was saying before, I've said in my other videos, this is the closest a number 1 and 2 of the company has ever been, to the point where I do not call Rock number 2 at all. Because if you look at the history after that, the difference between number 1s and 2s, no number 2 has ever come close to The Rock's heights. Randy Orton didn't, Batista didn't, whoever else was an argument for number 2 at the time. In fact, Roman Reigns' number 1 isn't even better than The Rock's number 2 if we're gonna do that. Cody Rhodes is number 1. Doesn't come close to any of this. So I like to respect this and say it's like 1A, 1B. But I'm gonna pick Austin. I do slightly favor Rock though. Okay, Hogan versus Michaels. I gotta go Hogan, but I do like Michaels more. And then here's the argument. So do you go for who got us started? Or do you go for, how do I word this? Not so much who did it better, but... So here's my argument for Stone Cold. Stone Cold was a mega star, provided great entertainment. So many clips and moments. Rock did this too, by the way, by comparison of like all the people that followed afterwards as far as the guy. But in their short times, if you make a highlight video of all the moments that these guys provided us, even though their time is like less than Cena, for example, between Rock and Austin, the clips go crazy by comparison. There's so many more memorable moments out of those two, or out of these two, than what came afterwards, as far and like by scale too, of like the kind of stuff that was happening in the content. In my opinion, which is way more chaotic and entertaining than the more toned down stuff that happened otherwise or afterwards, stuff like that. Austin, I think, was way more relatable to most people. Hogan was probably more for the kids, but to anybody who lived through this time, I mean, you were probably a kid at the time. I was gonna say who was an adult when Hulk Hogan was coming up. You either respect the source, or you understand that it can get better after the source, but you still gotta respect the source. Because Austin, again, he was at the peak at the time where wrestling was arguably at its peak, in my opinion. Again, a lot of people try and discredit the Attitude Era, but this was arguably the most cool time to be a wrestling fan. Let me give you one more example. Let's go to MMA for a second. UFC women's fighters. Ronda Rousey technically has an argument for the GOAT because she was the first to do it to that scale, got known. But as we saw later on in her career, she either got figured out or whatever. Devastating losses to the point where people thought her whole career was like a fluke now. So, what do we do with that? Do we, because she's still going to be like the first to do it to that level. So, is Ronda Rousey the GOAT? Or would it be somebody who comes along afterwards? I don't know who's doing it now, I'm not fully in tune. But would it be someone who comes afterwards that does it better amongst better competition in a more competitive time, for example? I'm going to go with Austin, for the sake that I think, although he got us started and I respect it, I do not think wrestling doesn't exist without Hogan. Obviously it could be different, but who knows how different? There's no way of knowing. So shout outs to Hogan. He's still on my Mount Rushmore. Hogan, Austin, Rock, and then I got Cena. But yeah, I'm going Stone Cold for this. I think that's the only one that's interchangeable though. Oh, there's more. Okay, well, John Cena. CM Punk over Steiner. Orton versus Batista. Excuse me. Here's the thing. I still pick Orton, but I don't like the longevity argument. used in some cases. Let's say you got a solid 5 years and then you dip out, had a great career, versus somebody who had 10 years, but let's say 6 out of the 10 years were stagnant. A lot of people I'm seeing are going to call the 10 years better just because it's 10 years. I don't think it works like that. But anyways, Orton for this case. Batista I miss Batista. Okay, Kurt Angle or Jericho? Oh, this is actually like, I'm going to go Kurt Angle. Because by this era, I was kind of done with Jericho. His debut was amazing. His comeback was amazing. But once we get into like this era, then I don't think it was that good. Although his AEW was a good reset. But this is WWE. Kurt Angle. Okay, yeah, this is purposely put together. Jeff Hardy. Edge versus Christian. Edge. Rey Mysterio versus Mark Henry. I wonder why they did this matchup. I'm going to have to go with Rey Mysterio here. High-flying GOAT to a lot of people. Eddie Guerrero versus JBL. I'm going Eddie. Rest in peace. JBL, I hated the JBL character as a kid. It took me a minute. I remember I didn't notice, because I guess I was on and off. I didn't notice that JBL was Bradshaw. He looked way different. He had the black hair, the longer hair. I think he had like different facial hair and shit. Yeah, Eddie. AJ Styles or Ziggler? Okay, that's easy. AJ Styles. Nakamura versus Brock. I go Brock here. Kevin Owens versus Cesaro. In the landscape of WWE, I guess it's Kevin Owens. I've heard the news. I don't care. For being objective. Demon Finn Balor versus The Miz. I like Demon Finn Balor way more than The Miz, but you gotta respect The Miz. The Miz has come a long way. Yes, he's stagnated. Probably won't do anything crazy, meaningful ever again, but like this is an example of I guess staying well past her time. Like, you're basically only respected for longevity at this point. He's good on the mic too, that host. So if he wanted to, he could just save his body and not even wrestle, probably just be a manager for somebody. And that would be a better role for his career as far as notoriety at this point. But I'm going Miz anyway. Reigns versus Ambrose. In this era, it's all time, so I guess we gotta consider current day too, so Roman Reigns. Seth versus Samoa Joe. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. In the landscape of wrestling altogether, it's Samoa Joe easily. But under the WWE umbrella, I had to pick Rollins. Samoa Joe was here for a little bit, never got to be champion, which was a crime. I think apparently he got injured or something at one time, so if he didn't get derailed like that, and he actually got his shot in a championship reign, whatever, to be Rollins. Big E versus Xavier. Big E. Xavier, so here's a messed up thing. I won't say, maybe it's not messed up, but Xavier has to forever hold the fact that he's going to be the only New Day member that didn't hold a world title. Excuse me. And we can't even finesse it either, because both of these two held the WWE title, so the main one. And now we're in an era where seemingly they gatekeep that shit way harder now than around this time, I guess. Kofi had it, lost it. We're not going to talk about that. Big E had it. Storytelling would lead to wanting to give it to him next to complete the trio. Is Xavier good for it? Xavier is underrated in my opinion, for sure. Good on the mic. He's got a good look. The only thing against him is maybe he's wrestling short, technically. Which means I think he's under 6 foot. I'm not even sure. I might be making that up. But they haven't even given this guy a mid-card title. I would take this guy over Jey Uso when it comes to the mid-card titles. They gave Jey Uso the Intercontinental, but I gotta go Big E due to how history went. Kofi versus WWE's version of Daniel Bryan. I think that's still Daniel Bryan. John Cena versus CM Punk. John Cena. That's Orton versus Kurt Angle. Hold on now. Hold on. So for Orton, I look at Legend Killer, 2009 Orton. Was there another one? I think those are his two arguments. Anything outside of that, which he's been repping for a long time at this point, it's kind of been, this guy's been coasting along. This is what I'm talking about. He's kind of just here now. Kurt Angle was, I guess, in and out. Has way more of a concise, solid catalog. People might think I'm crazy for this, but I'm going Kurt Angle. Jeff Hardy versus Edge. This is also hard. Jeff Hardy's my favorite wrestler growing up, all time. At the time, I didn't like Edge. I actually liked Cena over Edge for this rivalry. But I later grew to appreciate and understand the heel work. I didn't hate heels by default back then either, but something about Edge just kind of annoyed me. I guess I gotta go Edge, because he was feuding with the top guy, one of the top guy's best rivalries. Ray versus Eddie. I will use the longevity argument on this one, because it's either you go longevity longevity bias or death bias. Yeah, no, Eddie was definitely great, but I gotta go Rey Mysterio. AJ Styles versus Brock Lesnar. Again, WWE only. So AJ kind of had... AJ's time was what? 2017, I think? He had maybe a solid 2-year career before they started like putting him on the back burner. And then now they kind of still got him like mid-carding it, which he's way better than this. So when I think AJ Styles, I do not think WWE at all. Then he got Brock Lesnar's career. Had a great start, but then left. Came back. Now, as a heel, people hated him because, you know, part-timing and shit like this. But you couldn't deny his impact, especially after the UFC, after he was successful over there. This is actually kind of hard. I think I will go AJ Styles, though, a little bit for more consistency, even though he hasn't been booked the best. Kevin Owens versus The Miz. Give me The Miz. Give me Reigns over Rollins. Give me Daniel Bryan over Big E. Cena, oh yeah, we're being objective. Cena over Angle. Edge over Rey Mysterio. Yeah. I gotta go AJ over The Miz. Roman over Daniel Bryan. Here's the rivalry, but John Cena over Edge. Roman over AJ Styles. Cena or Roman? Oh, all time? It's gotta be Cena. Roman's Tribal Chief run was solid. Everything else was just time padding. He's got a lot of time padding too, but yeah, John Cena. Austin versus Cena. I go Austin. Get mad. Austin is the winner for greatest of all time. The only other answer I'm accepting is Hulk Hogan. That's that. On to the next. Tyzik Thunder.